Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, Josh here. Welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. I'm excited that you're with me. We just wrapped up Christmas. Can you believe it? Can you believe that we just had Christmas already, 2017? It's like gone. I've been mentioning this, but it's still blowing my mind how quickly time goes by. And actually, I think the older I get, it seems to go by faster, and my parents always said that. But look, I'm excited because today I have Howard Partridge on the line, and he's someone that I've looked up to for a long time. He's a business leader. He's doing all kinds of stuff. He's growing his audience and his popularity. He's everywhere. He's busy, and I've nailed him down to speak with you guys today. Howard has a multi-million-dollar cleaning company in Texas that's 100% automated. It's a turnkey operation. It's really an incredible business. I'll let him share that with you. But he's also an author. He's a motivational speaker. He's a coach. He's a teacher. He does high-level stuff. He works with the Zig Zigler company and all this stuff. I'll let him unpack that too. But Howard's going to help us understand how to make 2018 our best year ever. Howard, thank you for your time. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing better than phenomenal, Josh. Good to be here.
I had a feeling you might use the word phenomenal. That's one of your favorite things to say. Now, what did you tell me? I actually talked to you on my cell phone a week or two ago, and you said that, because I asked you, you say that every time, Howard. What if you're having a horrible day, but you still say it? And you said something really cool about the difference between position and circumstance or something. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So when someone asks me how I'm doing, I answer out of my position, not my condition.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Because the fact is, anybody can have a good day or a bad day, but we don't judge our life and our calling and everything that we do by whether we had a good day or not. You know, you got good days, you got bad days, good things happen, bad things happen. It's just the way it is. And hey, if we have some influence over it, let's have more good things or phenomenal things happen every day than bad things. And most of the bad things that happen in our life are something that we usually created, right? Are allowed to happen, you know?
Yes. I was telling someone this morning, and when you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes, and so much of the pain in my life was absolutely my own fault. And I love that, and I want to take a step back for 2 seconds to talk about what you mean by position, because actually I did a podcast with Sid Graff, who's a good friend of mine, and we just started talking about Jesus. Like, it got weird, and we were talking about God, but that's what it's all about for me anyway. But what you mean by position is you don't define how you are, or, you know, in the moment, based on your emotion of that moment. You're talking about your position, that you're a child of God, that you're a son of the King, that you are you're in this position. The reality is you literally are a child of God. And so, of course, you're phenomenal, even if your circumstances are weird. And that's what you mean by that, correct?
Yeah, you bet. And so as a believer, you know, who you are in Christ spiritually, those that are listening that understand that and believe like you and I do. But even people who don't believe the way that you and I do, that's a great starting point. And what I like to do is share with people. My company name's Phenomenal Products. And when I first named my company is because I was selling, you know, audio CDs and manuals and things like that, the Phenomenal Products and training materials. And my mentor came, wisest man that I know, he came to speak at my conference, and he said, you know, Howard's products are phenomenal. He said, but I'm here to tell you, the audience, that you are the phenomenal product. So I like to ask people, when it comes to their life, were they born to lose? Were you born to be unhealthy? Were you born to be broken in debt? Were you born to have a hard life? Were you born to not your business not work, your relationships not work, not to have a good relationship with God? And the truth is, we aren't born to be unsuccessful in any area of life, but we've settled in areas. So even if we don't have that position in Christ, just as a creation, we're inherently phenomenal because we were created that way, whether we believe that or not. And when you start with who you are and understand who you are, that has a big time impact on what you actually do, which has an impact on what you actually have, which is what we're going to talk about here in a bit for 2018.
It's true, and it has a profound impact on the behaviors you live out throughout the day, like what you're doing, your habits. If it's coming from a place of emotion, which, God, I mean, probably the large majority of small businesses run on emotion, right? They market when they feel like they're doing good. They spend money when they feel like they don't have a plan. It's not structured. It's just all these decisions are made out of either a place of fear or overconfidence or whatever, rather than that stable foundation of knowing that you are a phenomenal creation, that you have value. You are not a cosmic accident. You are here on purpose for a purpose. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
So if I was to ask you, Howard, how does the listener make 2018 their very best year ever, just to start things off? What comes to mind? What are some things you're passionate about that could help the little guy out there who's fighting the good fight make next year the best year ever, regardless of how this year ended? What do you think?
Well, so the thing is that Zig Ziglar says that The Secret said, he passed away in 2012, and as you mentioned, I work very closely with that organization. And Zig always said that the secret ingredient of success is desire, and desire comes from a vision. And, you know, we've heard think big, and all of this. Although it's true and it sounds cliche, the fact is that most people don't truly believe that they can be successful or that they can be more successful, or they have the wrong ideas about what it means to be successful. There's a lot of people, especially in the cleaning industry, that think, you know, if you're successful, especially if you're like wildly successful, then you must be doing something wrong. And the fact is that so many people grew up with that attitude. That's the attitude we have about money. That's the attitude that we have about success. After all, we don't want to give up our friends. If we get too successful, then what's going to happen is, it's going to make everybody else around us uncomfortable. And honestly, being someone who's been very successful, it is true. You know, family members, people who know the old you, are kind of, it makes them uncomfortable. So I think that there's a lot of fear when it comes to success and really reach it out there. And that's why the work that I do, I try to help people to understand who they are, what's possible, that you don't have to be a bad person to be successful, but you do have to have a vision. You have to believe. You people don't implement, they fail to implement. I call it FTI, failure to implement. We don't implement because we don't have a vision. We don't have a vision because we don't truly believe. And we don't truly believe because we have fear that somehow our life is going to get more messed up if we're more successful.
Yeah, I know that from firsthand experience. Fear of failure is real, but fear of success is equally real. It's a weird thing, and we self-sabotage. When I work with people, Howard, I'm really a broken record about them being able to articulate to me before we talk about systems, before we talk about building their business or fixing anything or tactics or strategy. None of that matters to me unless they can clearly articulate to me, what do you want and when do you want it by, right? Like, very few people can actually answer that the first time I throw it to them because they don't really think about it. They only focus on what they don't want. Well, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to have credit card debt. But they don't say, I'm going to build an automated business in the next 36 months. It produces, $90,000 a year in personal income, so I can be a missionary for 3 months out of the year here at this place. Or very few people can answer that. Is that what you're talking about as far as having lack of vision? Absolutely.
I learned from John Maxwell that the most important thing that a leader can do is think. And the thing is that John also says that a dream is an inspiring picture of the future that energizes your mind, your will, and emotions, empowering you to do everything that you can to achieve it. And the thing is that so many people don't take the time to think. They don't take the time to think about the possibilities. They just think about the problems. And then they start talking about the problems, then they start complaining about the problems, and they start feeling bad about the problems. And, they're not around anybody who's helping them to see the possibilities, and they don't take the time to think about the possibilities. But the truth is that anybody in the window cleaning industry, pressure washing industry, carpet cleaning industry, any of the industries that you touch, they can be just as successful as you, more successful than you, more successful than me, and more successful than anybody that they can even think about that is successful. And the fact is it doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you end up. I just got an email from the president of Ziglar just a few minutes ago, and they're working on a video, and he sent the video to get some feedback on the script, and it talks about Zig Ziglar, his past and all the failures and all those kinds of things. And his father died when he was 5 years old, and he was born premature. He died 9 days later. He basically came back to life when his grandmother cradled him and prayed over him. They were the poorest family in Mississippi in the Great Depression. And he had all kinds of issues and challenges and problems. And here's the thing. The thing is that Zig Ziglar was convinced that he was going to be a little guy from a little town until a man by the name of P.C. Merrill got a hold of him. And he worked at this, which is the second thing that I want to share. And what really the work that I'm doing is all about. He was selling cookware, but he wasn't doing very well. And a man by the name of P.C. Merrill, a trainer that he had high respect for, took him aside at the training one day, and he said, "You know what, Zig?" He said, "I've never seen such a waste."
Ouch.
Yeah, in Zig Ziglar's words, he said, "Fran, that'll get your attention." And then he finished the statement. He said, if you went to work on a regular schedule, I truly believe you could be one of the great ones. So that was the encouragement that he needed. And that's what he did. He went to work on a regular schedule every day and started believing in himself and started taking some action. And look what happened to Zig Ziglar. He became an American legend.
It's truly amazing how confidence in identity is transferable. Zig didn't have a figure in his life to tell him, you are good, you are
right.
capable, you are strong, you are talented. And one guy, how much do we crave, Howard, to just be given permission to go for it? You know what I mean? And I come from a non-entrepreneurial family, and I didn't get permission to go for it. And it wasn't because my family didn't love me. It's because they didn't have that inside themselves to transfer to me. But that one relationship totally changed the direction. It actually segues really nice, because I know you have a new book coming out called The Power of Community. And I want you to dive deep into talking about that, because it's an amazing thing that you're working on. And for me, we just did a live event for Automate, Grow, Sell a few months back. And the theme for us was clarity plus community equals conquer.
Wow.
That was like our whole theme of the live event, is how do we get people perfect clarity on step by step over the next 6 to 12 months, a little bite-sized sprints and reverse engineering everything. And then how do you surround them with the proper community? And I got to tell you, I'm not just tooting our own horn or trying to sell our stuff or anything. I'm totally authentic. Lives were radically transformed at this thing. People were crying for days. Marriages were restored. It was unbelievable. And really all it was the right people in the right room, that community, and the impact it had was just unbelievable. I don't know if that totally segues into your book, but I know the title is The Power of Community.
Listen, I wish I'd have talked to you before I wrote the book, because that's exactly what it's all about. I love that, because, you could have a vision, but if you don't have the people, in fact, I share that, really for a successful business, you need three things. You need leadership, which is effectively communicating your vision, which means that you have to have a vision, like we just talked about. And then you have to have the right people on your team. That's your community. So there's your clarity. The vision is the clarity, and then community. Because the fact is, to be successful, we all need the support, the encouragement, and the accountability. Those are the three keys that unlock community. And unfortunately, what we do is if we either hire the wrong people, or even if we have the right people on our team, or worse, we don't even hire anybody because we're convinced that we can't get anybody on our team. But we need a community inside and outside of our company, because we all need the support, the encouragement, and the accountability to conquer life and to conquer the business challenges. I love that. Clarity plus community equals, did you say conquering?
Conquer.
Equals conquer, yeah.
Yeah, equals conquer. I see people, sorry to cut you off, but I'm so passionate about this now. It was like a giant light bulb went off in my head, because people argue and spend all of their time worrying about tactics in their business. Should I do this with my SEO? Should I hire this person? Should I buy this new piece of equipment? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? And they're doing everything backwards. They're starting at the end, right? And they don't have any clarity on their destination. They're not surrounded by the right people inside their business and outside their business in their personal lives. And if that's not in place, it just doesn't work, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And so number 3 is systems and strategy. So you need leadership, you need vision, you need people, and you need systems. But like you said, you could have the systems, but if you don't have the people, or you don't have the right vision, then it doesn't really matter. And putting those strategies into context of where you're trying to go. One of the things I try to teach business owners is that the one and only reason your business exists is to be a vehicle to help you achieve your life goals. So what kind of business you have, whether it's big or small, the type of business you have really depends on your life goals. So where do you want to go in life first? What is that life vision? What does your lifestyle look like? How much money do you want to make? How much time do you want to spend with the family? Yada, yada, yada. And then you design that business. That's the idea of a business, is you design that business around your life goals, and it's a vehicle. So a vehicle is simply a set of systems, right? And but in order for that vehicle to go somewhere, you need someone to drive it. And if you want to take a lot of people a long way, then maybe you need a bigger vehicle, right? So where you're going is going to determine what kind of vehicle you have. And so if I want to just cruise around my circular driveway, I could do that on a unicycle. I don't need anybody else. If I want to just go, if I want to go down to the grocery store, I could ride my bike down there. If I want to go a long way and I need to take some people with me. So, Gary Keller says that no one succeeds alone. And this whole idea behind the power of community, it's a book that I have coming up in January 26th. It comes out, but right now, when you pre-order it, we have a specific web page that you'll give them a little bit later. When you pre-order it, we go ahead and give you some of the resources, some of the content ahead of time before it comes out, so that we get a lot of orders into Amazon, and they're like, hey, this is going to be a big thing, and that kind of thing. But so when you go on there, we give you some resources. But what the book is all about is the subtitle is How Phenomenal Leaders Inspire Their Teams, Wow Their Customers, and Make Bigger Profits. The problem is that every human being has a longing for belonging. We all want to feel loved, accepted, and validated. We want to feel that our lives matter. Deep down, we want to belong to something bigger than ourselves. We want to make a positive difference. Today, we're more connected digitally than ever before, yet we often feel more isolated and disconnected personally than ever. And this sense of isolation not only affects our personal lives, but dramatically affects our work life as well. The ongoing Gallup employee engagement poll reveals that 70% of American workers are disengaged from their work. But what's even more disturbing is that 18% of those workers are actively disengaged, meaning that they're actually working against the success of the company. And the reason for that, and the reason that people have a hard time finding employees, hiring employees, keeping employees, and having a positive culture, is they are not recognizing the one thing that every human being wants, and that is that appreciation, that recognition, that sense of meaning, that sense of belonging. And that sounds kind of like soft and all that. But the truth is that most small business owners, because they don't know any better, it's not their fault. They just haven't been taught the right way. They've learned that management is, I hold you accountable. You come in and you do your job. I hold you accountable, and there's no relationship there. And so what happens is it ends up being a pretty dull environment. They sit back and wait for people to perform rather than leading them and training them and that sort of thing. And so this is something that I learned along the way. And the three keys to building community in your business, building a sense of community, is support, which is helping other people get what it is that they want. So what if when you hired someone, the first question you asked them, or even in the interview, is tell me about your dreams and goals. And by the way, our company wants to help you reach your dreams and goals because we live by Zig Zigler's philosophy. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what it is that they want, which, by the way, I used to tell Zig that he stole from Jesus, because Jesus said, give and it'll be given back to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And he would just laugh and say, well, I know him personally, so it'd be all right. But the point is that we approach the relationship with team members all wrong. It's like, you come in, you show me what you got, then I had an attendee at one of my conferences, and I was walking among the audience. We had about 200 or 300 people there, and I'm teaching this. He's a first-time attendee. This is one of the reasons I went to member only this year. Not all of our conferences will be member only, but I got to have some conferences where I can just roll up my sleeves and everybody in the room gets it, and we can get down to some business, but he was a first-time employee, and I'm teaching this stuff, and he's like, we're talking about respecting other people, and he says, well, don't they need to respect me to earn my respect before I respect them? I said, no, it's exactly the opposite. Yes, they have to do their job, but guess what? When you support them, you understand what their goals are, help them reach their goals, providing resources, information, whatever the case might be, show interest in their personal life. Doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but show interest and show that you care about them. It's the old way is command and control. The new way is care and coach. Even though it sounds soft, the fact is that when you respect them, you're gonna earn their respect. Then they'll help you reach your dreams. They'll help you build your business. The second one is encouragement. And encouragement is helping people do the things that they're afraid to do. One of the studies that I did for this book is I went through as much of the series of the Leadership Challenge as possible. John Maxwell said in a seminar I was at with him a couple of years ago, number one leadership expert in the world, has written over 70 books on leadership. I'm looking at a whole shelf full of his books right here. He said that the Leadership Challenge was the best leadership book ever written. And so when I went to study that book, I realized that there was a whole series. And one of the books that they have is called Encouraging the Heart. I'm reading a book right now called Drive, even though it was written almost 10 years ago. The fact is that business owners and managers have not caught on to the fact that the old way of managing is over. It's been gone, dead, long time ago. It's a hangover from the Industrial Revolution. It doesn't work. It's not how human beings work. And I was naturally doing and teaching some things that I didn't realize that, science was actually proving out. When you support people, when you help them, they'll help you. When you encourage people, that gives them hope and encouragement. And guess what? The thing is that when you encourage someone, like P.C. Merrill encouraged Zig Zigler, he gave him a little bit of a demotivational speech first. Sometimes you got to do that. Then what happens is, so when you support someone, then they're likely to then allow you to speak into their life. And when I can speak into an employee's life, then, there's a real relationship that's developing there. And then they're more likely to allow you to help them be accountable. So it's support, encouragement, and accountability. But what most business owners and managers try to do is they try to hold people accountable without a relationship, without the support, without the encouragement. And the reason it's not working is because they don't think you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I care about them. I pay them, I overpay them. I do this, I do that. They don't know that you care.
Yep.
The fact is that employees, study after study after study for a quarter of a century, have revealed over and over and over that money is not the top thing on their list. The truth is that you can pay people less, and if you give them meaning behind their work, you'll get the right people. They'll help you reach your goals and dreams. Yeah, you need to reward them in different ways, but you don't have to pay them the most. It's a myth. And but if you support them and you encourage them, then you can provide some accountability. And accountability, in my mind, is not forcing people to do what they're supposed to do, but helping them become the person that they need to be, so that they'll do the things that they need to do so that they can have the success that they want to have.
Wow. Well, I have almost an entire page of notes. So I'm going to circle back to a couple things. So
awesome.
First of all, I've experienced exactly what you're saying in my life, and I have a deep concern for the service industry because you're exactly right that they have this industrial revolution hangover in the way that they manage people. They think they're leading, but they're not really leading. And especially now with the whole millennial thing, everybody likes to pick on millennials, right? They have to be caught up in something bigger than themselves. They have to have a vision.
Right.
That's how they function. And you also mentioned how care and coaching is what replaced the. What did you say? It replaced the industrial revolution.
Command and control, yeah.
Command and control. Okay.
Command and
so
control.
care and coach, and that does sound soft, right? And so people are scared to appear weak or something. But let me tell you a secret. I know Howard will agree. People will go to war for you at a level far beyond anything you could ever manage them to, as far as their production and their willingness to do the right thing when no one's looking, and their dedication and their commitment, if you care and coach them. Literally. I have a guy that works for me named Cooper. He's awesome. A lot of people met him at our live event. He's 20 years old. He's ultra talented. I see so much potential in this guy. And he wants to be a real estate investor. And he works for me at my software company. He does a great job. He's super nice, super reliable, just not a normal 20-year-old, right? And when I introduce him to people, I say, hi, this is Cooper. He works for me over at Send Gym, and he's going to be a real estate investor by next summer because I've been working with him on his thing. He's going to buy his first duplex by next summer. He needs to have the certain amount of money saved up. I'm helping him understand, the credit and how to get, investment property financing and all that stuff. And it's like it's made him just come alive. I mean, the kid's on fire, and because I genuinely care. Do you have any feedback on that?
Absolutely. Well, people don't want to encourage their employees to go do something else, or even to train them to do their job well, because they're afraid that they're going to invest all this money and time and energy in them, and then that they're just going to quit. So they would rather. So I love what Zig Zigler used to ask. He said, "So let me get this straight. You would you instead of training them and losing them, you would rather not train them and keep them."
Oh man, that's a logic punch to the face.
Yeah. So how's that working for you, right? So the thing is that when people know that you do care about their dreams and goals, then they'll be more open with it. Listen, I got a guy right now who's a cleaning technician, and for those that don't know, I have a cleaning company. We'll hit right at 3.6 million this year in Houston. It's totally turnkey. I've got a phenomenal team. It's very profitable. We don't have any debt other than a little bit of equipment. It's a super duper team. It's just amazing. And I built it. I started it out of the trunk of my car when I was 23 years old, and I went through a lot of the same trials and challenges and all that. And when I started learning about systems, then I started implementing those systems. But here's the proof that you can have all the systems in the world and it still doesn't work for you. So I got Michael Gerber's book, and I started studying systems and all this stuff. And the thing is that you can have the systems, but if the people aren't willing to use them, and they're not willing to use them because you don't have leadership. So you have to have leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. Then you got to have the right people that are willing to run the systems. Then you have the systems. So I learned that you have to have those three things. You can't just have systems. So over time.
Well, let me ask you a question, Howard. What do you say on a practical level? Someone has a small business right now. Maybe they're not this dynamic leader and they feel intimidated to try, but what we're talking about is resonating with this person. And they have a small team, and it's definitely a managerial type environment, and they want to start transitioning towards actually caring and investing. And not that they don't care, but they want to articulate that better. They want to have a vision. What do they do? I mean, on a practical level, do they start running meetings once a week? Do they go on a week-long retreat to get clear on their own goals first? I mean, what would you tell them tactically to pivot their business?
Get your people involved. Dale Carnegie said that people will support a world that they help create. Go to your people and say, look, here's what I would do. I would go to them, and I've done this. I'd go to them, I'd sit them down and say, you know what? I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I was listening to that podcast, and there was some guy from Lower Alabama on there, and the great Josh Latimer. And I realized that I'm not a very good leader. And what I learned from them is that leadership is effectively communicating your vision. And I think I have a vision, but I need to share that with you guys and get feedback. Where do you feel like we're going? In fact, in my book, in chapter 1, actually, when people pre-order the book, they get this chapter right away. I talk about Jim Collins, who wrote a book. He wrote Good to Great and Great by Choice, Built to Last, and all those. But a book that a lot of people don't know about is called Beyond Entrepreneurship, Turning Your Business into an Enduring Great Company. And they talked about vision in there. And the fact is that they said that the unfortunate fact is that many company leaders don't communicate, not that they can't, just that they don't. And they had a lot to say about a vision. And then they started talking about shared vision. See, so the first thing I would do is sit them down and say, look, I just haven't been a very good leader. So let's talk about where we need to go. And I do this with my teams still today. Like my cleaning company, my business planning this year was like the easiest ever, right? So every year we have 2 full days scheduled. And I meet with my directors. I have 2 right now. One of them's getting married. So her last day at that company was in December, and she's coming back to my training company in February after she gets married and all that stuff. So I normally have 3, but I have 2, and I sat with them. We got a whole day scheduled. And after about 2 hours of them just going over a few things with me, and I gave them some tips and advice and stuff like that, they're like, oh, yeah, that's good for today. And then I met with them again. I think that was yesterday. What's the day? Thursday. Yeah. Yesterday morning, again, 2 hours and lunch. And we went over some budgets and stuff like that. And they were like, well, are you okay with this? I said, yeah. Are you okay with it? He's like, nah, not really. I want to tweak it a little bit more. So tweak it, And so we talk about, where do we want to go, and when you get them involved, if they have involvement in that vision, they'll help you get there. And you have people that will come onto your team that can't wait to get involved. Now, if they have dumb ideas, then let's talk about it and say, all right, let's talk about why that's maybe not the best idea. Be open with them. Then communicate regularly. And there's a lot of guys that don't want to do this. And so when I tell you, I'm going to give you the proven formula right now, but then I'm going to ask you some questions about it, because I can tell you what to do, but you won't do it because it's hard. All right. If you don't meet with your technicians every day, somehow, some way, if there's no communication with your technicians, what's the main thing that's on their mind? What's happening on their phone? What's happening at home? So you need to have a meeting every day to keep everybody focused on that vision. Leadership is effectively communicating the vision. Even when you have a crystal clear vision, this is what the goal is for the year, for the month, for today, for the next 5 years. This is our dream. It's on the wall. We got a beautiful picture. Communication is the harder part, right?
Yeah, and it's like it's a marriage, not a wedding.
Right,
People
right.
prepare for the wedding, but not the marriage. It's a constant broken record, not in a bad way, broken record, but a continuous, repeatable vision communicated over and over. And I just wanted to say that because people will get all inspired, have their team meeting, give a passionate speech, and then get really ticked off 45 days later when the wheels are falling off because it's this constant thing, right?
Bingo. So I have a solution for that. So this book that I wrote, The Power of Community, what I did is I created a small group formula. I created a small group exercise. My company's already been through it. And what you do is you get the book for everybody in your company. You read it first, but you get the book for everybody in your company. And then once you own the book, you're going to be able to download a guide where your whole team goes through this book on how we create a sense of community, a sense of connectedness together in a small group environment where everybody gets to share, but it keeps everything on track. And that's what you need to do once a week. You need to have a group that sits in a circle, because the fact is that you can preach from the front of the room all day long. But the fact is that I call them pods. And the fact is that in a pod, when everybody's sharing, that stands for Power of Discovery Systems. When someone, today especially, we live in, unfortunately, a me generation. We live in a culture today that you ain't the boss of me. Even if I work for you, you ain't the boss of me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I do my thing. And so you can tell people what to do, or you can engage them with questions, or you can get them in a group where we can communicate with each other. So less information and a lot more discussion is better than a lot more information, because the fact is they don't even hear you when you're standing up there preaching at the front of the room. But when you engage them with questions and we discuss it, we talk about it, they retain it. So I have a formula in the book of how you do a small group to create community. It's a 12-week process that you could go through.
That's amazing. And, you mentioned Gary Keller, and I don't remember if he was being interviewed, but someone asked him, what's one of the keys to your success? And he said that he takes the people in his organization, which I believe is the largest real estate company in the world, and that's why he's a billionaire. And he said he gives everybody inside of his organization the opportunity to build their own empire inside of his organization. So his is like the universe, right? But they can build their own planet. And what that means is, it's kind of what you were talking about, is maybe you have an employee that has $12,000 in student loans that keeps them up at night. That's like an insurmountable problem to them. Maybe someone wants to buy their first house and no one in their whole family has ever even owned a home. Maybe someone wants to travel to Bali and go scuba diving or something. Whatever it is, like that is their vision of their world. And when you help them manufacture that under the umbrella of your company, really, really good stuff happens. And I thought that was really cool. It's just, I don't know why. It's kind of frustrating when I talk about this stuff, Howard, because I know people still don't get it. I don't know if it's because we need more tactics, or if it's a belief problem, or if they're just so jaded or bitter because, you can't find any good help these days. I know for a fact a lot of the leaders in your organization are younger people, and they're killing it. They're running a $4 million machine, and you're not even in the same state half the time. So they're wrong, but they continue to believe that. And maybe, is it just always going to be like that, or what do you think?
Yeah, it will, because human beings, if you can't get past the vision part, the most important vision that you can have is the vision of who you are. And that's how we started the conversation. If you don't understand who you are and who you can become, then nothing else really matters. If you don't understand that your success is right between your ears and in the middle of your chest, your mind and your heart, then you've lost already. And I hate it too, because in the carpet cleaning industry, I work in 100 different industries through Zigler. We've got coaching clients in 100 different industries in 9 different countries. And the only way I can do any of this is I've got several teams. I've got 40 some odd team members and on 3 different teams that help me. We have a whole, that doesn't include a whole marketing team over at Zigler and just all the pieces of that. But so what I have to do is I have to stay focused on the vision. And, in the cleaning industry here, we have a very high-end company, and we have cleaners all over the world that have followed our systems and become very successful. But at the same time, you have some of these Facebook groups where they're just sitting there and acting like 12-year-olds in junior high school, and if you bring anything positive in whatsoever, I mean, you're going to get shot down. So what is that? That's a poor self-image. What Zig Ziglar calls a poor self-image. They're so disappointed in themselves, and deep down they don't understand their potential, and therefore, if anybody else is successful, they have to be doing something wrong because it ain't working for me.
Yep.
So if they would just do 2 things, if they would just one, understand that they can be successful. Yes, some of your worthless buddies, not that they're worthless as a human being, but just
their attitudes are worthless.
The interaction, their attitude's worthless. There you go. They got stinking thinking, need a checkup from the neck up. In fact, when I first started my cleaning business, I hadn't been doing it that long, and I decided I was going to go take the high road, do high-end marketing, and we had this little group that met every week, and they had a severe case of stinking thinking, needed a checkup from the neck up, and which, by the way, Zig said leads to a deadly disease called the hardening of the attitudes. And I'd walk in with a sport coat on and a tie and positive attitude, and they literally laughed at me and said, "Who do you think you are, Zig Ziglar or somebody?" Well, I didn't even know Zig Ziglar at the time. I'd never met the man. I knew it was a compliment, but I wish I could talk to some of those guys today and say, "Hey, guess what I do now?" And
the irony.
the irony, yeah. They were speaking prophecy, didn't even know it. But the thing is that if you are listening and you're caught up in that little world, just listen. Just stop getting on those things and understand that you can be as successful as you want. You don't have to work as hard as you do. You don't have to be broken in debt. You don't have to do some of the crazy things that you do that I had to do to be successful, to get out of it. Go find the people who are already doing what it is that you want to do. Better said, find the people that are where you want to be spiritually, mentally, physically, family-wise, personally, financially, and career-wise, right? So, and that's all I did. I said, okay, how does this whole thing work? Okay, you gotta go build referrals. You gotta market to your past clients. You gotta get up and shave in the morning. Half of these guys in that room that were making fun of me, literally laughing at, hadn't even shaven. I mean, dude, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, okay, and you're sitting here in cut-off blue jeans and flip-flops. You haven't shaved yet, and you're not going to the beach, okay? So they don't have the vision because they don't have the desire because they don't have the vision. They don't have the vision because they don't believe that it's possible for them, and they want to make excuses. They can't get over the fear. One of the books I wrote, this is my 7th book that's coming out. One of the books I wrote, it's a little thin book, but it's a great little book called Think and Be Phenomenal. And I have in there a 5-step a formula that I learned from one of my mentors, and he called them filters, where you first become aware that you need to change, and you become aware that maybe there's a different way to do this. And that's step one is, he called it unawareness first, and then you become aware. So that I call it step one. You become aware. You're unaware, then you become aware. And then the first thing that you're faced with is the willingness to change, because it may cause you discomfort physically, emotionally, with people in your life. You may be fearful that things are going to get worse before they get better. And a lot of people never get out of the box because they don't believe. They don't believe. See, Frank Outlaw said that when you change your thinking, you change your beliefs. When you change your beliefs, you change your expectations. When you change your expectations, you change your attitude. When you change your attitude, you change your behavior. When you change your behavior, you change your performance. When you change your performance, you change your life. So let's unpack that. All right. If you're living a great life, okay, you lived in Costa Rica, now you live in a castle, you had a business that you sold. All right. That's because you performed. See, you wouldn't be able to do that unless you performed, unless your business performed, right? You had results. That's called performance. You wouldn't do that unless you had specific behavior, making an investment in these areas, physically, monetarily, putting energy into focus, and you change your behavior. The reason you change your behavior is because you had the attitude that, hey, if I do this, that, and the other thing, I'll get results. The reason you had the attitude is because you expected good things to happen. You said, if I do this, this will happen. If I do that, that'll happen. And the reason that you had that expectation is because you believed that that could happen. And the reason that you believed that it could happen is somehow, some way, you started thinking differently. So, guys, you got to start thinking differently. And only then will you believe that it's possible for you. And, well, Howard, I don't want all that, what you and Josh have. That's not the point. The point is, do you want to have the life that you were created to have? Do you want to have the business that you need to have to live the life that you need to live? Yeah, I get frustrated about it too, boss.
No, that was just value bombs falling from the sky. On my last podcast, I'm going to repeat a story so that you can hear it, because it's super powerful, and you might even want to use this sometime, and you're welcome to. It's really heartbreaking. So there's this couple at my church, and they couldn't have kids of their own. And they were very excited. They went through like a year-long plus process of adopting a little girl from Russia. And this is years ago. Very expensive process, and they were so excited. And they go to Russia and they get the papers and do all the stuff, and they come back with their new daughter. Now, in the minds of the husband and wife, this was their child, their daughter. This daughter now had the birthright of their family, period. It's done. Not only is it legally done, but in their minds, that's what this was. It wasn't like they're renting a child. They now have a daughter. And they get home, and this girl had a horrifically abusive, situation in Russia in these orphanages her entire life. And one day the father comes down the stairs, and he sees his 5-year-old daughter eating out of the dog bowl, eating dog food. And these people had a beautiful home and plenty of food in the fridge and all that kind of stuff. But the reason I say that story is because her identity, she didn't understand who she was. You talked in the beginning about your position. She didn't understand that she was a daughter. She didn't understand that the food in the fridge was hers, that she owned it, that it was part of her birthright, right? And I just see a strong parallel with what we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be free in your mind. My first book is called 7 Secrets of a Phenomenal Life, and you can actually get it free online. I give it away. I give away the audiobook and the digital version at secretsofaphenomenallife.com. But I told a story in one of my books. I don't remember if that was the book or not, but the reason I mentioned that particular book is because 7 Secrets of Phenomenal Life, LIFE, stands for living in freedom every day. There's no freedom in being broken in debt. There's no freedom in struggling. There's no freedom. And, if we were truly created to excel, Zig said, you're born to win, designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, endowed with the seeds of greatness. After all, God don't make no junk. You're a phenomenal product, created to be phenomenal, do phenomenal things, and have a phenomenal life. If that's all true, then there's no freedom in being broken in debt, having difficult relationships, and not being able to prosper in your business and attract the clients that you want to attract, and all those kinds of things. And so living in freedom every day means knowing that you can be successful in all those areas, and you're free in your mind, you're free in your heart. And in one of my books, it might have been Think and Be Phenomenal, I shared a story I heard from a guy at church. He said his father was in World War II. They were captured by the Germans, and they were in this camp, this prison in some European town. And one morning, high fences, barbed wire, the whole thing. And they wake up one morning, and the gates were swung open. All the guards were gone. Everybody was gone. And everybody got real excited and started to get ready to go and just take off out of the gate. And then they thought to themselves, maybe this is some kind of sick plan. They're going to just mow us down with machine guns. Maybe the townspeople are going to come out with pitchforks. So even though they were free, they sat down and stayed inside the prison.
It's kind of like that story of the baby elephant. You've heard of that, right?
Yeah.
You take a baby elephant and you tie the chain around its leg and you pound the wood stake in the ground and it holds the elephant. It can't escape. But then when it becomes an adult, it still won't even try to rip the stake out of the ground. It's like, you weigh thousands of pounds. Like, you're free, man. So this has been really good. And just to bring it home, Howard, because I value your time, where can we pre-order The Power of Community? Because I'm actually going to do that myself. I'm going to have my employees go through it too when it comes out. What's the website they need to go to?
Go to howardpartridge.com/community. howardpartridge.com/community. And you'll want to do that. Awesome. You'll want to do that before January 26th. You'll be the first one to be able to see the interior of the book, be the first one among the first to get the book. And then you'll also qualify for everything that we do when the book comes out on January 26th.
Awesome. Well, very exciting. Great job. Like, your life is crazy. You started out with 25 cents, like, decades ago. It's just crazy. If you haven't listened to Howard's other episodes, everybody, just go to quicktalkpodcast.com and you can click the search bar, type in his name, just type in Howard. He's been on several times and you just do a great job. I just thank you, Howard, for your heart to help people. Everybody go to howardpartridge.com/community. And lastly, I want you guys to give me a Christmas present, right? If 2017, if this podcast in 2017 delivered value to you, can you do a little itty bitty reciprocation back to me? Pretty please, with cherry on top. Can you go to iTunes and leave me a beautiful 5-star review? That really helps us reach more people. It helps us push up in the rankings. We have quite a few in there, and it's not super fun to do that, but it's like literally high-fiving me and giving me a noogie, and I appreciate it. So thank you all. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Howard, I'll be talking to you real soon.
Josh, thank you for everything you do, buddy.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.